My dearest Cernunnos, is milk a mistake? I love my latte macchiato in the morning, but it's been making me sick the last few days. My husband has been getting problems from all forms of milk for a while now. Friends have had increasing problems too. What's going on there? Using animal milk to your advantage was certainly not a mistake, because milk, as is generally known, helps you through moments when green plants are scarce or non-existent. It helps your children to survive. But milk is also just that, a transitional remedy. And the transitional period is coming to an end, planetary speaking. You can deny all you want that the planet is changing and that you are changing with it, but that does not change the facts. Many others have also told you that it is not really the milk that is changing. It is you. Stop looking for the things that are bad about milk. Apart from the shenanigans you are doing with this natural product and its producers, the cows, milk is a perfect product for those who need it. The question is this: you can have all the foods and beverages of the world shipped to you today. Do you really still need what has not been produced for you? Or is it a cherished tradition? And even if it is, you have perverted your own once sensible tradition and turned cows into machines. That has no future, let me assure you. Meat and milk should once again be seen as the delicacies or emergency foods that they are. Now, tell me about something else. Tell me about that man who fascinated you yesterday. We are done with this subject, because you know all of this, but you just don't want it to be true. Okay, all right. I stumbled upon a wonderful German documentary yesterday, The Secret Life of Trees. I more or less inhaled it immediately. It's 2 hours long. Absolutely great work. It features this German ex-forest manager who said, "Everything is going wrong in this system and I'm not going along with this anymore." It was eye-opening. Now he shares his knowledge all over the world and convinces governments and companies to plan their forests differently, those for lumber as well as those that are mostly left alone, so that 500 years from now there will still be healthy European forests. You could say this man is a true druid. So are his companions. He is doing work on my behalf. He just doesn't know it consciously. Our call has not died away with the Celts, the Anglo-Saxons, and many other original peoples. It is just coming back, as these people prove. Because knowledge must come back. For a while you manage without it, for about 200 years or so, in which you have industrialization and technical progress and a dwindling regard for the gods, nature, and enlightenment. Then the first ones begin to understand that all those promises were not kept. That all the promised wealth is slipping through your fingers because you cannot breathe gold and no one wants to live in palaces in the middle of stone deserts. That a much greater, greener wealth at the other end slips through your fingers even more fatally. Whoever understands that a forest is one living being understands the basis on which God operates. As long as you tear up forests, dismantle systems, and turn adjusting screws whose meaning you do not know of, you cannot claim to have understood what God is. God is above all things perfection, and thus it is not your place to tamper with the overall structure. What you want to take out from the forest, the sea, or elsewhere, you must have added at an earlier time, so that there is a surplus that can be taken without damaging anything. Taking something first and giving it back later is the exact opposite of how the divine operates. Whatever question you have, I have already provided the answer. Whatever you need, I have already provided it. I remember. It's one of the key quotes from Conversations with God. Exactly. The others have also talked to you about these new principles and about basically providing a large surplus to the system in order to be allowed to harvest some of that surplus later. So in a healthy forest, you would have to release 100 wild boars raised by you in the spring if you wanted to shoot 50 of them. If something unforeseen happens, such as a storm, war, flood, or a shortage of other nourishments, you would have made provisions. But you never do. Taking is still your principle, and that, too, is now over. Cause and effect, it's very simple. And by the way, no one has spoken of punishment here, and no one ever will. However, numerous apologies from your side would be quite appropriate. I have found that nothing is really known about the religious practices of the Celts and the class we have come to think of as the Druids. This is appalling. I was aware that the evidence was not the best, but the fact that there is so little astonishes me. I also catch myself wanting to correct people now because my intuition says something completely different than what historians make up. If you think there is more expert knowledge about the way you ran your temple in Egypt, I must grossly disappoint you. Yes, there are more writings and hieroglyphs. There is the Egyptian Book of the Dead. What I wouldn't give to let you find a Celtic Book of the Dead or two. But, of course, I would prefer a book of life. In any case, you're mistaken if you believe that there are really complete, correct assumptions about the rituals and everyday customs of the Egyptian priestesses. So, who is Hecate? Can you tell me something about her? I think some modern witches work with her. She is a wisdom goddess, as interpreted by the Egyptians, and was heavily mixed with Greek and Roman influences. A serious, inherently awe-inspiring goddess who didn't immediately pour out the cornucopia of love energy on you as a greeting. Hecate's friendship had to be earned with 1,000 little things and favors. But she was not capricious, and still is not. Among the goddesses, she is simply the one who does not smile for no reason. You have a term for that today, I believe. The resting bitch face? Yes, that's right. You make me want to research her, and to find out even more about you, of course. I'd love to know if there were legends of you, and if they might have survived somewhere. Fragments exist, of course, because even today you still have pictures of some forest god or other and the orgies your society thinks he celebrates every day. Well, yeah. I can assure you I don't have time for that. And in case you haven't noticed, I don't have a body to join all these earthly pleasures either. So to portray me as a creature, half goat, half human, is not only gross nonsense, it's also quite undignified for me. But your imagination is unstoppable in this area. It's almost a good thing that the majority of you don't go to the museums anymore, and that you don't still gawk diligently at those frivolous works. By the way, the Muslim rule, do not make an image of Allah, is supposed to prevent exactly that. Nevertheless, it fails to achieve that goal. Different story, back to the legends. Even if there were any, they would be legends from ancient times. They would have to be transposed into your time and your thinking. Legends should not be static, just as school material is not static, no matter if you always put 5 and 5 together. 200 years ago, teachers approached teaching in a very different way than they do today. More crude, to put it nicely. A legend needs a regular update, and to oppose that is quite small-minded. You just must never destroy or misappropriate the previous version so that your development can be traced. If you make sure that the old one can be referenced in case of emergency, everything is fine. And there we have it again. There is nothing old from you either, am I right? I don't find that bad. I don't need a legend about how I rose from the sea or was born from a tree seed or any such nonsense, because I'm as old as you are, and that's that. Wait a minute, you are as old as me? Well, if all souls burst forth from God in a great explosion called the Big Bang, then every deity is just as old as every other soul, kiddo. Whoa! I'll have to think about that for a long time, I think. Do just that. Back to the legends now. Okay. Well, if I wanted to flood the world with stories about me, I'd grab an author or two, as seems to be the custom today. They would be inundated with the adventures of a young forest god, and I would have a queue of young fans, just like these retellings of your vampire myths. But I don't. I only give myself away quite rarely now, and some blame me for that. Well, aren't you free to do as you please? If I were free to do as I please, some owners of forests would be going up in flames right this second. Oh boy. So no, I am not ultimately free. After all, neither is everyone else. Ultimate freedom is not a goal in and of itself, and logically it can't exist. But you can feel ultimately free, and that is a high art of living. The other individuations of the great whole, the gods, spirit beings, or energies, however you want to call them, are pushing you to be free, to feel free, always.